What's up, everybody? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by We Print Wraps. We Print Wraps is the wrap industry's #1 source for wholesale printed wraps. They offer free nationwide shipping all across the U.S. and Canada. Go to WePrintWraps.com today. Okay, folks, welcome to the All Wrapped Up podcast. If you're new to this show, I've been a weekly listener. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. As you know, I don't ask for much, but I appreciate it if you left your feedback and a 5-star rating on any platform that you're listening to. It really helps us out in getting the word out about the industry. And don't forget, if you find value in the content, subscribe and tell a friend. And now here's a brand new episode of All Wrapped Up with Ryan Sandoval from Glarb Wrapped. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to All Wrapped Up podcast. We'll be interviewing industry-leading wrap companies to share tips, tricks, stories, and more. All right, so we will go live. We've got Ryan Duval. Did I butcher that? Because I know we already talked about this.
I think I don't think you butchered.
I completely messed it up.
In half.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you missed 50% of the entire last name.
Holy shit. Ryan Sandoval.
Nailed it.
Perfect.
Ryan Sandoval.
Sandoval.
Yeah.
See, the whole talking about it before messed me up. I forgot 50% of your name. Can you believe that shit?
Bro, you psyched yourself out.
I think that's what it was. I'm not gonna lie.
It's all right, Jeff Gregario. Actually, no, Jeff Gario.
Oh, shit. Man, it's funny because we've already been talking for about 30 minutes prior to us going live here and and I haven't even said who the hell you were from. Glarb Wrapped, dude. Come on.
That's me.
That's Glarb. This is Glarb, guys.
Glarb, Ryan Duval.
Ryan Duval. Yeah, we'll just leave the San out. That's going to be your new name.
Yeah, nobody likes the sand part anyways. It's all about the oval.
Sand's boring.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and then you go to the beach and it like sticks to you and you have to wipe it off.
Yeah.
And it gets in your truck, then you have to vacuum it. It's just like, it's a bother, like just get rid of it to begin with.
Hey, isn't that Glarb?
That's Glarb.
That's Glarb, dude.
That's Glarb.
This has probably got to be the best intro I've done so far. I swear to God.
Oh.
Totally went the deep end, psyched myself out, got into it, and it just became something else.
Who would have thought a mistake would have been so beneficial?
Right? Oh exactly. My God, dude. Oh my God. Cool, dude. Well, man, I gotta tell you, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's a complete honor to have you on. We've got another great designer in the wrap industry out here, from South Florida, Glarb, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Likewise. I listen to your podcast all the time, but I'm not the kind of person to be like, hey man, I listen to your show. Can I be on it? I'm in the industry. I do a lot of stuff, but the fact that you reached out and, we're excited about my work, excited to talk to me. It's, I am honored to be on your show and talk to you as well as talk to everybody else that is listening.
Likewise, bro. Appreciate you.
Of course.
Well, as you know, in the show, in the beginning stages, I like to kind of warm up with some projects or what you got going on at the studio.
You've got me at a really good time because I have a lot going on.
Nice. Yeah. No secrets, thank God. Kind of, hopefully.
Well, I mean, I will introduce some stuff. I'm not going to tell you in full detail, what they're going to be. Listen, we just started talking here. You're moving too fast for me, Jess.
I need to buy you a couple of drinks. Is that what you're saying?
Jeff Gorio. Okay. I don't even know your full name anymore.
Oh man.
So I designed for a lot of people, and now that SEMA's coming up, of course it's, go. We need this done by yesterday. So I have a couple of SEMA builds, doing a camo Jeep, the Spider-Man design is making a comeback. on another vehicle. I literally just submitted print files to Rap Sesh over in Arizona. Shout out to Jess and Mike. They're going to be wrapping a pretty cool Mercedes C65. Being in South Florida, we are pretty much the boat capital of the world, maybe, if not the nation.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's Googleable. I can't, back that information up. So if I'm wrong, I don't care. So we're doing a lot of boats. I think I'm doing a Boston Whaler right now. I have a 42-foot yellowfin that we are literally waiting for the manufacturer at Yellowfin to finish building, and it will probably be one of my most favorite designs that I have ever done ever.
Wow.
It's going to be really cool. That one I do have to keep a secret because
you guys always got secrets, man.
Yeah, but when you deal with people that have the funds to buy a 2019 42-foot yellowfin boat, and they ask you, hey, please keep this a secret, you kind of have to keep it a secret, Yeah. I do apologize about that, but just hold on for about a month or so and it will be released. We are just waiting for them to build the boat.
The thing's still getting built?
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
Yeah, so the dilemma was he could either buy an already built 2018 or just wait a little bit longer and buy a brand new 2019 built, to his specifications.
Wow.
And yeah, this thing is going to be awesome. It's the boat itself is going to be awesome. The design is, okay.
Wow, way to not toot your own horn, dude. Come on, man. It's gonna be fucking killer. Come on. You just said it's gonna be the best project of your life right now.
It is. And what's really cool is this is kind of a collaboration piece, with a photographer. His name's Michael Dornelis. Talk about butchering the last name.
Okay, we're just gonna roll with it.
Yeah, let's just keep going. We'll call him Michael Nellis.
Perfect.
Get rid of the first part of his last name.
just don't mess up his Instagram tag.
Yeah,
we need people to go to his social media accounts.
Yeah, but that one's easy. That one's Reef Hunter.
Reef
Hunter. There's no syllables or umlauts that you have to pronounce in that one.
Oh shit.
He's actually a photographer, and he was on Shark Week.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, so my client had him do a underwater shoot and get a bunch of pictures for the subject matter in this design. And then he sent me a couple of his pictures, and I was able to kind of isolate, sharks and fish and add a little bit more of like my design elements and just building this awesome underwater scene, where one side is basically a, spear fisherman's dream world. And then the other side would be kind of like a ghost ship, scary underwater shark infested shipwreck.
Don't give out too much. Don't give out too much.
Well, I just, I want to reel you guys in just a little bit. Reeling you in.
You got the bait in the water, dude. We're all swimming at that fucking hook.
You got to get that membership for the exclusive content.
Yep. All wrapped up Patreon. Little selfless plug right there, but.
If you buy a month now, you get a month for free.
Oh shit, I love it. That's awesome, dude. So as far as like templating the boat, like do you physically go out and do the whole templating yourself, or do you kind of work off of like specs of the boat?
So in an ideal situation, I am able to go out to the boat and take measurements and pictures.
Good.
That's how I like to build my templates, for any vehicle. Just because I know exactly where I measured, what I measured, how I measured it.
Right.
And it just makes for a more accurate, installation, especially with some of these really complex, designs where, the hardest part in every design is matching the fender to the hood, and then, the notorious fender to the front bumper section.
Right.
And also the rear quarter panel to the rear bumper. You can't really do that on a template, kind of, I guess you can, but
you got to butterfly everything open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, solid colors in those, transitional areas definitely helps. But when you're really trying to get complex and, as accurate as possible, it's just so much better to take your own measurements and take the picture of the actual car or the actual boat, because specs, they really only give you length, or width.
Right.
And, when they say, oh yeah, it's a 26-foot Boston Whaler, well, it's actually like 26 feet and, 5 inches.
Right.
But they're not going to call it a Boston Whaler 260.5. They're going to call it a Boston Whaler 260 because that sounds cooler.
The only way you're going to get a smaller boat is when you're paying for that slip at the end of the year. Because, when you get like a 30-foot boat and a 24-foot boat or 26-foot boat, the slip could be $1,000 difference. And people are like, yeah, it's a 26-footer. You don't know where it is.
Exactly. It's like
it's extra couple feet. You know what I mean? No one's going to be out there with a tape measure and making sure.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, I like your boat. Yeah, it's a 26.75 footer. No, you're going to round up. You're going to round up. You're going to get that extra inch or so.
Hey, as a guy, you're always going to round up, all right?
Always need that extra inch.
Hey,
if you're at 7.2, you've just became an 8.
Hey.
Is that allowed? Are we allowed to say that?
It's allowed to say it. Hell yes, it's allowed to say it. People are gonna laugh their balls off right now. Dude, you gotta have a little humor in this.
Right.
It's what it's all about. It's shop talk. It's fucking laughter. Laughter is the best medicine, man.
I agree.
That's how I look at it.
I know, man. You hit me up. You're like, yo, we're doing this at 5 o'clock. I was like, 5 o'clock? That's when I'm ready to go sit on the couch and lay down.
Right? And I was an asshole. Called you at like 5:01.
Gosh, dang it. Goreo.
Oh, shit, man. So going back on the boats, how many boats do you do usually a year, give or take? Is that a big percentage of your design work, or is it kind of just like half and half, the car industry and the boats? Or
I would say starting off it was a lot of cars, but getting it, now I would say it's probably about 50%. And
wow.
And so the guy that Burl, he actually just acquired boatwraps.com.
Wow.
So yeah, we're in the process of building the brand. And you guys are going to see like a lot of stuff coming up here in the future. But he is all about boats. So I think boats are always going to be a huge part of my business. I would actually prefer to wrap boats more than I would cars because that's simple, man. 54-inch panel. How big's your boat? 26 inches. All right. Here's a 54 by 20 foot did I say 26 inches? 26-foot boat.
Yeah.
Here's a 28. Here's a 28-foot panel. Have fun.
Yeah. Right.
Just one panel down the side. Call it a day. Seam it up.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about curves. You don't have to worry about anything else. Boats are easy.
For sure. Have you ever wrapped a boat yourself? Or
I have.
Nice.
Yes. I went up to West Virginia and wrapped a wakeboarding boat.
Holy cow.
For my buddy and his friend. And, it's easy. Wakeboarding boats are fun because those guys are all about, loud designs and standing out. And, just nobody wants a white hull anymore when you can customize it.
Right. How did you feel installing it?
As an installer, I would say I am a 6 out of 10.
Which isn't bad.
Which isn't bad.
No.
But, if you're coming to me for your custom car and you want me to install it, I would suggest otherwise.
All right. At least you're honest.
I would politely suggest otherwise, and I would then turn to my associate and say, but he will do it perfectly.
There you go. There you go. So you've got a comfort level of what your capabilities are. You know what you can do and what you can't do.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're boat guys or these higher custom guys, and same with me. If I were to get somebody to wrap my truck or my car, I wouldn't look at the final product. I would look more for the imperfections or the errors.
Right.
And I don't ever want to be in that situation where I'm doing this high-end custom and I, tell myself, oh, you got this. And then run into a situation where the client's going to be like, hey, what's this? And, so that's why I leave it to the professionals for the install. Sometimes I will do an install just because it's somewhat therapeutic to sit there and, just kind of figure out how you're going to lay this down, figure out how you're going to cut around this section. I do enjoy it, and it's a nice way to get away from staring at a screen all day long.
Yeah.
Getting your hands dirty somewhat and learning more about the whole process of wrapping. And I think, the fact that I kind of know how to install, or I know, the 101 of installing makes me a better designer, because I'm not looking at a 2-dimensional, Photoshop file and just saying, oh, that's good. No, I'm jumping from the driver's side to the, how do I transfer this into the rear or this into that top view? And, and that's definitely stuff that you have to think about, because, the world is full of designers, and being a wrap designer or being in this industry, you do have to think about it outside of the computer screen.
Agreed.
And you also have to work hand in hand with your installers. And I think that's why, my setup right now is ideal, because I am, I share a shop with a great installer, and I can sit them down and be like, hey, how do you want me to panel this out? Or, hey, we can only print 54 inches, horizontally. Should I go vertical? How would you like to do it? And you can kind of collaborate, with that whole situation, because every car is different. Every print's different. I always use this reference, like the Honda Civic LX is a lot different than the Honda Civic SI.
Right.
And when you tell me, hey, I have a Honda Civic, I have a lot more questions than what you're just giving me right now.
I agree. And you nailed it, exactly when you were just like, I can install it and I understand the process, because a lot of it goes back to being, you're either a wrap designer or you're a graphic designer.
Right. The
two are now becoming more separate than they were as one at one time. We only knew graphic designers. Graphic designers were the people who were creating these vehicle wraps. Now we have a whole nother kind of avenue to go, and another sort of name for the industry, right, for that specific person, whether it be a graphic designer or a vehicle marketer. It's just different. It's just so different, because that person needs to know the ins and outs of that vehicle in a 3-dimensional aspect, as opposed to like a 2D on the screen. Those body lines are going to work differently when you add elements to them. And when you can understand the two as an installer and a designer, you have a win-win situation.
Right. And then going off what you just said, let's just take the Audi R8 or the BMW i8 as an example.
Yes.
So, you download the Bad Wraps template or the Pro outlines or blueprints, AI, templates.
Right.
But the Audi R8, that's a very, round kind of car. Same with the i8. And on your template, you're not accounting for those contours. You can have a website, go above the rear wheel, but at that point on your template, that car is literally going from being, perpendicular to the road to almost being parallel with the road.
Yes.
And that template's not accounting for that.
Yep.
So you have to literally adjust once you're making your, you have to adjust that, that word or website or whatever you have in that spot. You have to lift that up a bit to account for all that extra material you have to stretch over.
Right.
And which is kind of, it's tough because when you're also mocking up designs, especially commercial wraps for your client, you can't account for that adjustment. You have to kind of show them exactly how it's going to land.
Right.
So one, you have your mock-up design, and then once you go to your print design, you have to make those adjustments. And
right.
if you were to mock up your print design on your mock-up design, it wouldn't look right, and your client would say, no, can we move that down a little bit? And then you say no, because it's not going to print that way. And then
you didn't compensate for that extra bleed or whatnot, and it's funny. I just had that conversation. I just had that conversation today with somebody with mocking up, which is probably the worst vehicle you can mock up is the Transit Connects, the Sprinter style Fords. There's three different sizes, height wise, and there's three different wheelbases.
Yep.
And most of the time the lettering or the design, on a standard, commercial wrap, it's going to be inside that panel. So when you're mocking it up, yeah, it's okay. You can move it, make it look perfect in that panel. But when you're outputting that for the profile, you might have to adjust that in a little bit. You might have to shrink it down a little bit just to compensate for the rail, that little insert, that 3/4 of an inch that you're going to lose, whether the installer is going to push it in, you know what I mean? Heat it in, or if you're going to relief cut it. You still need to compensate for that, because if not, that's a difference between, 3/4 of an inch at the bottom, 3/4 of an, that's 1.5 inches difference up and down. And if you've got that lettering down, we all know that kind of slopes down. It kind of gets fatter towards the front. And if your lettering is too close to the back, it's going to be on that rail. And now what are you doing? You're cutting the lettering. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the most important part of the design, aspect of this whole process. And what's funny is, and I've ran into this, so many times, is I justify the way that I design certain things or panel certain things a certain way. And then you get, I've worked with installers that I've never met before. Mm-hmm. I've worked with companies that I've never met before. And I have a certain way of doing things. They also have a certain way of doing things. And you kind of clash in a way because, obviously you have to kind of explain, the reasoning behind it and talk to them in person and say, hey, I paneled it horizontally because you can hide the seam here. Right. And then you come in with the horizontal rocker panel, and then you can seam it nicely. Or some people do the vertical paneling. Like right there is just a totally different way of, producing, the wrap or your design.
Right.
So I always make it a point that when I am, mocking up a design and paneling it for a company that I haven't worked with, or I don't know how other installers like to do certain things. Mm-hmm. I always make little notes on the mock-ups or like the install guideline saying, all right, here you have like a 5-inch overlap on this rub rail, but cut this panel on the top part of the rub rail and then come in with your lower rocker panel and cut it down at the at the top of the rub rail as well. So then you only see the seam on the sides, and there is actually no seam besides the little like 2-inch, pieces on the side of it. Yeah. Some people would keep that there. But it is all the things that you have to think about when you're trying to produce a wrap design, you know, because with brochures or flyers or business cards, what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
In the wrap industry, it's not, you know, that's not the case.
No.
And that's going back to why I like to make my own templates and measure the car myself. Because I can account and I can adjust and I can stretch the image of the actual car to fit my template.
Right. Right. Totally agree. Yeah. The level of, communication needs to be expressed right from the start. You know what I mean?
Right.
How does your install it? How does, you know, he like his panels? You know, what is he comfortable with? You know, standard 3-inch bleeds. Do you need something more than that? You know, is he going to be able to, you know, little things like that usually helps. It helps you out too, in order for you to, you know, output your files for profiling for the printer to produce them. But it also just helps out the installer at the end of the day. Cause it's at the end of the day, they're the ones putting it on. You know what I mean? They're usually the ones that usually get the shit end of the stick a lot of the times. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah.
I've been on that end.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I give installers credit because no matter what, I don't care who sold the job. I don't care who designed the job. I don't care who bought the material for the job. The installer is the one that has to deal with the client and be like, why did this go into my handle? You know, why is this in the door track and you can't even read it? And the installer's like, I mean, I had to adjust accordingly. Like if I didn't place it here, then your logo would have been totally cut off into the window up in the front of the car.
Yep.
And, you know, they have to kind of be, you know, I guess the front line of everything else. So I applaud all you guys installers listening. I applaud all you guys for that because I've heard stories and I've actually been the one that, you know, got you guys into that situation from time to time.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Back in the early days when there was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, not no more. Still use Glarb for all your designs. He's very good.
And the full rotation to why I like to make my own templates.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about stuff like that.
I would have to agree with you. I'm still a little bit old school when I design a lot of my stuff. I always still like to, as kind of redundant as it might be, I still like to go out and survey the vehicle. Right. Whether it's take like just a few measurements of certain things just to make sure my template is 100%, especially if it's a vehicle I haven't done before.
Exactly.
You always want to take, you know, a left and right and up and down of the door and just make sure you're good. That's all it takes. If it takes a 20-minute drive to make yourself sleep at night, because I've had those moments where I go to bed, I'm like, fuck, that thing's getting printed tomorrow, and I'm not 100% sure, you know, until you kind of dry fit it on and you're like, okay, I'll sleep tonight now, like a baby.
Yeah,
you know,
no, exactly. And that's I guess that's like the challenging part of being a designer that works with, you know, companies or individuals all around the nation and the world is they'll say, hey, I have this Sprinter van and I need a design for it.
Mm-hmm.
And first question I always have is or I guess not question, but more of like a statement is send me a picture of the actual car that we are wrapping. I don't want a Google image. I don't want, you know, a picture of the one that you had before, but it's the newer model.
Yep.
I want the actual car, because going back to the Transit thing or the Sprinter or the ProMaster. Yeah. ProMaster. There's, you know, the high roof, the longer wheelbase, the extended, the passenger versus the cargo.
Yep.
You know, are there windows? Is there a rear window? You know, there's just so many things you have to account for. And sometimes you don't have the vehicle in front of you. So you just, and then if anything goes wrong, like if, you know, something doesn't fit right, especially on commercial wraps, it's, and I'm not saying that it's, you know, easy. I mean, it's easy to point the blame. Right. It's easy to be like, you know, the installer to blame the design because the designer didn't align it correctly. The designer is quick to say, no, it's the installer's fault because my template is my template and it's perfect. And, so you really all have to come together on a project, as one,
Right.
and be on the same page. But really as a designer too, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are paneling your design correctly, you have the right measurements, and that you're not putting your installers into a situation where they have to, act fast, figure out a way to make this work, because they are the ones that are going to get the grief.
Right.
And, and that's why, I think like the design is secondary to building the templates and just making sure that the vehicle you are wrapping, or the template that you're using to wrap the vehicle is accurate, and you're paneling it properly, and you're thinking about the installation process as well, because it's easy to be like, oh, well, all right, project sent, the installer's got it from here. But then, that's not a good way to do business. And that's not a good way to, push work into this industry.
Right. Yeah. You always, how often do you keep in contact after the project's done? I mean, I'm sure you get, people that use you on a constant basis, but how often are they like sending you a picture when it's done to be like, another great job, thanks a lot, Ryan, see you on the next one type of thing? Do you usually get to see the end result a lot of the times?
Well, so I always do follow up because, on certain designs, I do want to see the final product. Like I love seeing that whole thing pan out, because, you put a lot of time into the design, you want to make sure that, at the end product is correct.
Right.
Especially if you're using a company or like referring a company that you haven't used before, because you just want to make sure that your client's happy at the end of the day. Like that's because you want them to come back to you. This whole industry is word of mouth, and one negative comment can literally, that's the end of your correspondence with, your client that you're working with.
Agreed.
So I really do make it a point to spend that extra time and making sure that technical side of things, it's all spot on. And then the design is more freeing. It's more like, all right, now I can kind of, shift to the other side of my brain and, make this one of these cool like art pieces.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're making car art on like the custom side, the commercial side. It's also a huge benefit for businesses. It's the best form of local advertising, hands down. It's a one-time fee. Like I guess you could say a small investment that can last you years.
Right. And it's just reoccurring every time. It's so many eyeballs every day, every night, wherever you go to the grocery store, you're going to see hundreds of people looking at that thing. It's just, that one phone call could pay for that one wrap. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how everybody has to look at it, on being a customer at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I had this conversation a few podcasts back where my guest had asked me, what was your quickest turnaround on a wrap that the client got a phone call and a job from? And he had said like he literally turned the corner and got like a couple $1,000 job at a boat marina, just leaving his shop from picking up his truck. Got like a $1,000 job, paid for some of the wrap right off the bat. 30 seconds sitting at a light, that could make the difference.
Exactly. I mean, the funny thing is I've been doing this for a long time, and I still have yet to wrap one of my vehicles.
That was going to be my next question. I'm like, hey, what are you driving around naked, dude? What the hell?
Well, no. So I have a rear perf. I drive a Sierra, and I have a rear perf. And even that, that costs me nothing. Even that gets me calls. They say, hey, I was behind you at the stoplight, and I noticed you guys do wraps. I've been curious about it. Can you tell me a little bit more information? Or, in front of my shop, I don't really have a sign, that says, hey, we do wraps. So I pull my truck forward, which I'm more of a back end kind of guy. So I do it for the business. I do it for the business, Jeff.
Oh, okay. I get it. I thought there was a pun somewhere there.
No, I couldn't come up with a pun fast enough. So
me neither. I kind of went. I was just thinking, went backward, go back, back up. Okay, all right, I get it.
No,
to each their own.
No, exactly. This is a podcast for all ages.
All age. Yeah, 18 plus, please.
Right.
If anything.
But it does work, and even like you see decals all the time. Maybe somebody that doesn't want to invest into a full wrap or a partial wrap, they'll just do decals, with their logo, kind of a quick description of what they do, whether they're plumbers or electricians or whatever, and then the phone numbers and websites, and it really does work as a form of advertising. And it's not something like a radio spot or a commercial or a billboard ad where it's a continual like monthly, payment. And vinyl lasts for a long time. And I just think it's a great, great way to advertise for your business. If you're a small business, if you're a big business, vinyl's not going to go anywhere.
I agree.
And I think,
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep on cutting you off.
No,
I don't know why.
I guess I'm just like, I'm done with what I was saying.
No, I was gonna say like the whole thing with like the billboards or even like the radio ads in like the yellow book or whatnot. It's just those things, you can miss that. You know what I mean? A vehicle locally that you're driving around, you might see 2 or 3 times throughout a day. Driving by. A billboard you drive by, maybe not all the time. Radio ad, you might miss it at its prime spot. Those things are kind of dying down a little bit. So the marketing with the vehicle is just the new thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And then not to mention, the design of the vehicle.
Right.
You see electricians all the time, or AC companies, or, plumbers, and all right, there's the name, there's a logo, there's, Times New Roman. Everybody knows that font. There's nothing too crazy about that.
Yep.
But then you see this guy coming by with like piping and water, and are you in crisis? Like water exploding everywhere. And they're like, is this your life? And you're like, yes, that is my life. I want to hire you.
Exactly, man. That's a game changer. That's what people want. You know what I mean? They need to be able to catch people's attention on the highway, on the street when they're parked. That thing's got to be looking like it's going 100 miles an hour, standing still. Right. You know what I mean? It's a new era, dude, and I love that we're a part of this new era. You know what I mean?
Me too, man. Yeah.
I feel like if we were back then, still like hand painting and stuff like that. Yes, we see the growth and into the cut vinyl, the digital, and now just, I know we talked a lot about this off air, but the whole thing about us growing, the next couple of years, what is it gonna take? What's the next big thing in the next year or 2, 3, 4, 5 that's gonna explode this even more?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And who knows? Like, I can only wonder what's going to be at SEMA this year, walking around and, seeing all the, the manufacturers that are going to come out there with their new products, or, it's crazy. I'm really excited to see where this industry is going to go. I'm really excited to see the new materials that are coming out. The color shifts are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That color shifts have been awesome since the chameleon paint job. That was the paint job to have. Like, oh man, he's a chameleon Mustang. That guy is doing well in his life. And
right.
Now it's just like, there's so many options to choose from. You have the matrix black, the shadow black, whereas these cool textures that, it's just going to keep moving forward from here. And, I don't see myself getting out of this industry. It's worked well for me up to this point. This year has been absolutely incredible, and it just seems like it's just spiraling in the right direction. And, the more people I meet, the more people I talk to, the more clients that I get, or even the shops that I work for. It's just an ongoing, exciting journey. that I want to continue to have. And, I just don't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah. Right place at the right time, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a big believer in it. It's just, I don't think everybody steps in shit all the time, but if you just create opportunities and, open up doors for yourself, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It could be your next big thing, your next big break, your next big job, whatever the case may be. And it could catapult you to, another level, which keeps the momentum going at the end of the day for a lot of us,
Right. Right. And then on that point, actually, because there is also, I guess, a not so shiny side to this industry, that I don't know if this is a nationwide thing, but you can definitely feel it here in South Florida, is the fact that there are a lot of people getting into this industry. And, I am not against that at all. It is an awesome place to be. It's an awesome way to make money. But it's creating a lot of competition. I heard the other day that, somebody came up to me asking me, hey, how much would you charge to wrap my E350 van? And I gave them a price and they're like, oh, wow, that's really expensive. I was like, well, have you been quoted a price already? And they're like, yeah. Somebody down in Miami said that they're going to do it for like $1,500. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
I was like, give me their contact information because I am about to use them as a contract source.
Right.
So it's crazy because this is the competition that, we have to kind of compete with, and how they're selling a $1,500 E350 van wrap is, blows my mind. I don't know if they're just doing it in hopes that they're going to get more business in the end, or if they're just promising 3M and using a crappy quality, or they're not paying their installers anything. But it's kind of interesting to see, and I guess it might be locational, but you see it. I've seen guys in this industry that have been in this industry for, way longer than I have, that are trying to find other means of income.
Yeah.
Because they can't compete with some of these prices. And it's crazy. It's scary. And that's why you always try to stay on top of the ball, on top of the technology, trying to push the envelope. But yeah, man, it's very interesting.
If they hold out long enough, they'll see those guys slowly vanish, because
hopefully
those companies don't really last too long. They either get their bad reputation, or they find out that they're not making enough money and close shop or whatever. And it's been an ongoing. I mean, we'll probably be at episode 60 at this point, but I still talk about this almost on every episode it comes up. It's a real thing. It's a fucking real thing. And the price gouging, just to get the job, and I know when everybody's bidding on a job, I get it. You do due diligence, you call 3 people, but when you got, an E350, like for some type of reference here in Boston, and I would quote that, if I was just quoting it, not looking at it, $3,500.
Right. Yeah.
All day.
Same here.
Like,
all day.
That's like baseline.
Right.
Like
that's yeah, exactly.
Baseline. You get 132, you get 135, but then you get an asshole that's like 15. Whoa. Well, you know what? As a smart business person, you get 135, one at 32, you get one at 15. You never go with the 15. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
And that's what I told that, and that's what I told that person, and that's what I kind of tell these clients or these customers that that we get, because although I do focus on designs, and that's what I'm very passionate about, I also am on the sales side, because I am a full service wrap shop. We do the prints, we do the install. We can service anybody here in South Florida. But when somebody tells me, oh, they told me $1,500 for this wrap, or like $2,000 to wrap my Lamborghini, I'm just like,
Jesus.
all right, listen. If I were to tell you I can give you a tattoo for $50 and somebody tells you they're going to give you a tattoo for $200, granted, besides the temporary, like the permanent aspect of tattooing.
Right.
But like, why would you trust the discount tattooer? There's sharp blades going on your actual paint. Like, they are taking the car apart. If I had a Lamborghini, just pay the extra amount to get a good quality job. Or like, don't just, it is an investment. This
Right.
is something that you don't need, but it can either, on the commercial side of it, enhance, the views of your business, the awareness of your business, or on the personal side, create a cool custom look, for your car.
Right.
But don't just don't just go to somebody that's going to give you this incredible price. Like, do your due diligence, research them a little bit, learn about the industry a little bit more, and actually use the people that they're quoting you this job because they know what it takes in order to get it done properly.
Right.
And they are going to take care of your car as if it is your own, or their own, I should say. And that's like kind of what I want to preach to everybody that's getting in this industry is, it is something that people are seeing it going full steam ahead, and they want to jump on and, pick up, as much profits as possible. But it's not, don't just go for that budget wrap. Don't just go for that budget, design or whatever. Do your research, look into it a little bit more, and get a good quality product at the end of the day.
Yeah. If not, you're gonna be paying for it twice. So
Exactly. Yeah.
What's it worth?
Absolutely.
What's it worth to you?
Absolutely. And that's I've heard horror stories. Like, actually, like in the past couple of months, there's quite some horror stories. But I just do your research and go to the trusted companies.
Right. It just sucks that there's I mean, I'm sure there's other industries share the same struggles. I totally get it. It just sucks that, a lot of us, not that other people don't make a living off of it, but I mean, not for nothing, this is such a cool environment. It's such a cool business to be in. It's like
It really is.
It's a new thing. You know what I mean? And it's I don't want to say it's kind of marketed to the, early generation, but I feel like the early generation is going to be kind of the people that put the stepping stones in. They're going to be the ones looking outside the box. They're going to be the ones kind of working with the new materials. Old school guys might not adapt right away with it. You know what I mean? They might be looking like, hey, stick to my commercial guys and that'll be it. Regular gloss laminate, IJ 180 or Avery, whatever. It's just like, I don't know. It's always a tough subject to talk about because it's so, we can go in like 30,000 different ways with it.
Oh, absolutely. And what's incredible about this industry is you see different companies that specialize in different aspects of wrapping vehicles.
Right.
So like Dan at Signs of Success or Loud Wraps, your buddy, he crushes fleets all day long, just fleet wraps. That's really hard to say. 5 times fast.
Oh shit.
I know, Mike over in Adnormus in Georgia, he does bus wraps all the time, just concert buses, in and out. Which is like 5 minutes away from me. He does lots of customs, a lot of fabrication too. So he's adding on to that whole vinyl industry and using his experience as a car guy and as a fabricator to kind of enhance his business. The Vinyl Vixen Wrap Sesh over in Arizona, they do the off-road, Razors or Polaris 4x4s, customs. And then you have, Skeppel and I doing the designs. So there's just so many different, I guess, ways to make a living. And so you do see, kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for? The benefit, not the benefit, the desire, not the desire. I don't know.
Want me to get the dictionary?
Yeah.
I'm gonna Google synonyms for, because you don't know. I mean, I do this shit all the time, bro. When I'm looking for a different word, trying to be smart and shit, I'll write down what I want, and I'll put synonym and just go through the whole list, bro. You know what it is? Like, you're right. There's so many different avenues you can take in this industry that you can't take in other industries. You could be a designer. You could be just a color change guy. You can be just a commercial guy. Mm-hmm. You could just be a print guy. You know what I mean? Or print girl. We're not gender specific here. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
But I mean, Trish has got such a great, business at We Print Wraps. I mean,
absolutely.
That alone has opened up, the wholesale printing market. She is beyond leaps and bounds in front of other people, because having that for us nationwide, or hopefully worldwide, it's breaking the barriers. Now people that don't have the capabilities of having their own printers are still able to get the prints at a reasonable price. And these guys that are doing these vans for $1,500, you can't go get that. You can't go get that stuff printed for $1,500.
No, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Way.
There's no way.
No way.
I mean, ink costs, electricity to run that printer, maintenance to run that printer. How are you making money? You cannot be making money doing that.
You're doing favors at that point, and favors don't make successful businesses. But going back to the We Print Wraps, I mean, that was a huge thing. Talk about a firecracker, man. Trish and just her personality in general.
Yep.
I spoke with her on the phone. I've heard her podcast when she was on your show, and just, how she does this and how she's able to provide this kind of a service, to open up, more people being able to get into this and expanding, and, is just awesome. And I've used We Print Wraps. It's a great service. They're always on point. Their colors are always on point. Their prints are on point. The delivery's on point. So, hats off to them and Trish, and being able to build that business. And literally just like bringing up this industry just one other level for other people to, kind of get into it and expand on their talents and skills.
Yeah. Benefit from it. 100%.
Yeah,
there's so much room and so much more meat on the bone. When you have something to that magnitude, that service, you know what I mean?
Man, when I heard it was like, what, $375 for 3M and $350 for Avery, I was like, what?
Sign me up.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I called my printers and I was like, hey, you guys ever heard about We Print Wraps?
Yeah.
Why the hell are you charging me $6?
I know, man. I've had this conversation with her often, and it's, we all have friends in the industry that will print, but
right, yeah.
They're looking at it differently than she is. She's looking at the volume. A lot of these people that are doing favors and doubling the price up, they're just, they're compensating for a fuck up. You know what I mean? God forbid that something happens, you get a head strike, or, they've got to do a little bit of trimming. How many times I've gotten prints from other people, fucking laminates hanging out the sides, not even trimmed out. You don't get that from her. They trim every panel out.
Oh, absolutely, man. So have you ever owned a printer?
I did.
I know you did.
Yeah.
So that's been my teeter-totter, since I opened up this shop. Do I get a printer? Do I not get a printer? So I outsource my prints.
Right.
I have 3 print shops that I'll use depending on the project, depending on, whatever. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Do you want to get into that headache? Do you want to, because that's a whole job in itself, is maintaining, keeping inventory with the vinyl, the ink, and then the lamination side of it.
Yep.
Keeping up with the laminate, maintaining it, like, getting the rip software, having somebody that, so and then getting the banning or, all the other things that come with printing. Is that a headache that you're willing to take on, to just save a couple of bucks, or give it to somebody like Trish at We Print Wraps that, they're just blowing out, prints every day.
Right.
Those printers are running 24/7. And to me, I'd much rather have that kind of a service as opposed to me dealing with it, because if I have to reprint a 26-foot boat because at the end of the entire pass, I either ran out of ink or there's a head streak or something, I would be flipping tables and chairs and,
we've all been there, brother.
Yeah,
we've all been there. So to give them a big job like that, that might be worth it. 100%, because, not to put it on her shoulders because she totally understands, but at the end of the day, if something was to happen and it happened there, she would have to eat the cost of that, which sucks.
Well, but she also has the people on hand to manage
all day
and make
long.
Sure that does not happen.
Right.
Me, I do not nor do I want, I don't want to, have that overhead.
You don't want to be married to the printer either, because a lot of us know if we go out for lunch, to go grab lunch and come back and let that thing print, you're going to come back to something either beeping or a head strike. I almost feel like the fucking printer knows when you're not in the room. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm just going to fuck up this print on you while you walk away. See ya. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or the laminator is like, you're going to get lunch? Well, guess what? I'm about to shift 2 inches right now.
Oh, shit. Yo, don't even get me started on a fucking laminator right now. If you've heard my rants before, dude, bitching out the laminator, fucking, doing a couple Hail Marys full of graces before I laminate, don't fuck me now on my last piece of the pie here. Bro, it happens. And those are the shit. That's the shit you have to deal with. It's gonna happen. Whether you're a new guy or whether you're a veteran, it happens often than not. And it really depends on your volume. Are you an occasional rapper, or are you an everyday rapper? If you're an everyday rapper, does it make sense for you to have a printer in house? Yeah, probably, because how often are you doing print samples that you're waiting for a print sample?
Oh yeah,
it's clients there. Let's run a print sample while we're talking. You know what I mean?
Right.
2 minutes.
Right. Especially if you're using a specialty vinyl.
Yes.
If you want to try some new things, you got to order that material, you got to print, you got to run it through, you got to, a lot of steps. So, why not, again, going back to the reason why I don't install is why not leave it to the professionals, the people that literally do this every single day, spend every single hour of their life thinking about it, doing it, maintaining it, and offering it as a service.
Agreed. I didn't mind at first. I used to wholesale my stuff out, to get it. And, it changed my life a little bit having a printer in house. I was able to seal more deals, faster because as I was, at my last stage of design, I was able to do my sample prints right then and there, get my sign offs, and I'm printing that afternoon, that job. I mean, is that beneficial sometimes? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe not. You can afford to wait a couple of days for the print to show up, whatever the case may be. And Trish is very good on doing sample prints and getting them out right away. That's the luxury of it.
No, absolutely. Trish is a saint. She actually, I guess for the rally, I was doing the Velociraptor and the Bentley and that gold, whatever. The gold coins and the money halftone. And, I texted her and I was like, hey, we have this rush job. Is it possible to get this done in time? And she made it happen. No questions asked. She's like, we got it. We're good. Don't worry about it. So, to be able to have a reliable source like that in order to get your designs done, get your designs printed and sent to your client on time, is incredible. And for you, how long ago did you have your shop?
So I have had almost a 2.5 year hiatus out of the industry.
Oh, okay.
So, but I had my printer for 6 years. I was in
Oh,
the business for 11. So my last 6 years I had a printer. And I had
which,
the same one for 6
yeah,
years.
yeah. And, like obviously that if you have a rush job, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to print it. But for somebody like me that doesn't have the printer or have that, 2 years ago, or, yeah, I guess 2 years ago, that would never be, I wouldn't be able to, have that successful, project if it wasn't for a service like We Print Wraps or,
Right.
and that's why, it's cool where this industry is heading because it gives, people like me that have been in this industry for a while, just different ways to get, designs and prints to clients that are not local to me,
Right.
not in South Florida. But I just don't think that eventually I would like a printer just to print small things here and there, maybe some in-house designs or, cause I do a lot of, artwork as well, for my personal self outside of, wrapping that, I'd rather just print myself or get a roll of canvas and, just print whatever I want. But I'll support the arts. I'll support the industry and I'll just, pay that extra $1 or $2, to the company that, has to deal with those headaches.
Yeah. Yeah. Support your local wrap shop, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
hitting on, being in the industry, let's go back a little bit. Like, how did you get into the industry? Were you always into the arts as a young boy, or how did you find out about this going from the start?
So I've always been the weird artsy guy. I played sports when I was younger, but I've always had that creative side to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually never thought that I never even thought about this industry as something that was going to be a career path for me. But, after, going into, I wasn't even going to go to college. Let's just be honest. I was not a school guy. I thought, school was, an annoyance than anything else. And I wasn't going to go to school, but my buddy, he actually convinced me to come up to school and try out for the Florida State drum line. I've played drums since like 6th grade. I've always been, like a musician. My mom, got me into playing piano when I was really young. Then I moved into drums.
Wow.
And one of my really good friends went up to Florida State. He was a couple years older than I was. And he told me, he was like, hey man, why don't you try out for the drum line? And I was like, oh, I'm not going to make the drum line. Florida State drum line's a really, really great drum line. Like, it's really hard to get into. He's like, come on, just like, what do you have to lose? Just come up and do it. And I was like, all right. So I went up there, tried out for the drum line and actually made it on the line. So then, I enrolled into the community college, got my AA, then, transferred over to Florida State and then got my in design. And from then, even when I had my degree, I was like, I didn't think that design was going to be something that I would pursue.
Yeah.
Because, I always, was told that it's just not a secure job or secure industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very competitive. And I actually, wanted to get into like 3D animation, do a couple of different things, but I always like pushed design aside. And, I was bartending, some extra money. Then my buddy calls me and, after I graduated, he's like, hey, we have an opening at the sign shop. Would you be interested in, and working here? And so I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. Why not? Let's try it out. And so I came back down to South Florida and they were just getting into vehicle wraps. And I walk in, I see the process. I'm a car guy originally. So I was like, I just want to do that. And learned how to make templates. My buddy Ben taught me, his methods, which I took and made into my own. And, there was some trial and error. long story short, I actually ended up getting fired from that job. My buddy, one of my best friends still to this day, he was the one that had to fire me from that sign shop because, and I'll preface this story. The project was set up for failure to begin with. I think I was working there for like 2 years, and this project was, I guess, like a year old. So the client came in, said, "Hey, we want to, bring up this project again. We have this food truck. We want it to be wrapped." So I asked the art director, I was like, "Hey, where's the folder for this?" Go into the folder, go into the design files, send it to print. But there was a new design in the folders that I was supposed to use. It wasn't labeled correctly. I didn't see this file at all. We printed it. It was the wrong file. Customer comes and gets his car or his food truck and is like, that's not the correct file, or that's not the correct design. We need to reprint it. Oh. So right then and there, I was, on the shit list. They pulled me in and they're like, what the hell happened? How did this go wrong? And I was like, I didn't see the file. It was named like some weird name. I tried to defend myself as much as possible. Needless to say, I got fired. So
Jesus.
Yeah. So I went online, and I still wanted to be, I loved vehicle wraps. I love the fact that you go out there and you measure a car, you bring those measurements into Photoshop or Illustrator, build a template, create this design, and then see it actually, on that vehicle, within, a time frame. I just thought that was the coolest thing. And then you would get a custom car here and there. And I think that's what really got me hooked, was being able to do these cool higher end designs. I was always good at Photoshop. I was always building logos and doing designs for, like the restaurants that I worked at, or like just friends that, were DJs or, wanted to start their own company. And, so I didn't want to get out of that. So after I got fired, I went on Google and started Googling vehicle wrap shops. And the name that first came up was Skins Wraps. And so I called the number, and it was this guy named Burl Cole, who's still in the industry, been in the industry. He's been in the industry for over 20 years. He had the Florida, New York, and California territory for Skins Wraps. And just so happened that he needed a designer. So I was like, I called him. He gave me a little trial run for his brother's window company. I was doing it on my old, like, little HP laptop. And he liked the design, and I've been working with him ever since. This was in 2000, I think it was 11.
Wow.
Yeah. And, from Burl, I've kind of slowly built my clientele. I've worked with him mainly, and he's the one that has boatwraps.com. So you'll be seeing a lot of stuff from him and I, here in the near future. Tamara over there with Under Wraps, Mario at Wake Graphics is another one of the, just a really good guy that I've worked with. I'm doing some stuff with Tate right now. And just being in this industry and just, meeting people that need designs and, have really successful shops, but just need that, that element to kind of excel them, and differentiate them from, the other companies. It's just been a really cool experience and, a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm sure it has been.
But there's also been, it's been difficult too, like sometimes work doesn't come through. Sometimes, projects go south. I think the rap industry, and I could be wrong, but for me at least, the slow season is definitely once Halloween hits. So you have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have New Year's.
That seems early, man.
Well, I guess after Halloween mainly, because Halloween you have the SEMA. SEMA's like the really big, build up.
Right.
But then after that, I'm doing a lot of commercial wraps at the time. So, businesses aren't thinking about spending money on advertising. They're thinking about, all right, well, let's save all this money until after the holidays, you know, when we're not, you know, having, you know, going on vacations or New Year's or, you know, Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents. And then it picks back up over the New Year's.
Right.
So there's some times where I'm just like, man, is this really what I want to do? Like, I'm like scraping pennies right now. But you know, you just kind of stick to it. And as a designer, you can kind of do a lot of different other things. It's like logo or websites, SEO. You know, I've done everything to try to just, you know, stay afloat, but always came back to vehicle wraps. And it's just something that has just, you know, kind of, you know, stayed in my blood, and I love it, and I'm good at it from what I've heard.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The projects you've done, the designs you've created, man, top notch, bro. I commend you and like what you're doing in the industry, and you know, shaking things up quite a bit, and making a stamp for yourself as the Glarb studio. You know what I mean? It's just, I can tell when I see something that I would know it would be your design as opposed to someone else's. I think
that's cool, man.
As time progresses, you're going to have that kind of unique look, that style that people can be like, yo, that's a Glarb design right there. Like, I know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I really appreciate that. That's an awesome compliment.
Yeah, and you're working with some great people, you know, overseas as well as, you know, nationwide and stuff. And I can see, like, we all go through it, you know, even though you're a designer and everything. I mean, even as a wrap shop, we go through our highs and lows in the season. Up here in Boston, we would have somewhat of the opposite effect. It would be like right in the beginning of December when people start realizing they got to spend money to get those last minute write-offs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got, you know, 10, 15, 20 trucks that you need to get done or invoiced at least, before the end of the year. But come January 1, 2, you know, you've got those trucks lined up, kind of bring you over to like, I don't know, maybe February, March, you know what I mean? Hold you over, and then that little lull that you might have had now has just brought you right into, you know, springtime and, you know, summer,
absolutely.
you know what I mean?
That's why, like, when you know slow season's coming up, you just kind of save up as much as possible, because, you know, as soon as Jan 1 hits, I mean, honestly, man, like this year is just, it's been awesome. It's been incredible, especially now that I open up my own shop and I'm out of working from my house and actually into a warehouse where I can do everything from start to finish. It's been an awesome experience, and, you know, I'm definitely going to continue to do it this way as opposed to working from home. Yeah, man,
it puts you in a different, let me rephrase that, putting yourself in a different environment. It takes the creativity to a whole new level. I know we talked about this before, but when you're in an environment where you get in the car, you grab your coffee, you drive to a location, your mind is producing stuff as you're getting to your studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're kind of mapping out. I know I would do this. I used to have like an hour-long drive to and from. So I would already be mapping out my day, what I needed to do, how I wanted to do it, anything creative, I'd write it down. I gotta pursue this when I get back to the shop, you know, whatever the case may be. And you're in a whole different element. You have you know, I used to have my music blaring, you know, it'd be open concept, like kind of like the way you have it. And going to what you have, man, like you guys had to create that. It was just a blank shell garage area, right? That you guys kind of just put like,
oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Nice barn doors that open up, dude. Those things are sick. A nice rustic old leather couch in the corner, dude. Like I scoping out, I'm like, this dude's got the same style as me, man. I kind of like this vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I have to have my creative space, and yeah, we put a lot of work into that shop. When we got the warehouse, there was drop ceilings, and there was 2 offices in there. And, you know, us going in being like, hey, we have a wrap shop. We need more space. There is where the barn doors were or are, it was a solid wall with just a door entry.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm asking my landlord, I'm saying, so like, what are your thoughts of possibly opening up this wall in case we need to bring in another car? Because he wanted to renovate, he wanted to kind of open the space up. So we already talked about tearing down the offices, tearing down the drop ceilings, and just opening up the entire, warehouse. So we were kind of going back and forth. We were definitely going to open it up, but I wanted something there that would step back from the front. Originally we were thinking garage doors, but then, you have the whole tracking system, the motor, all that, it was, it'd be a $3,000 investment.
Yeah.
And literally as we're kind of going through demolition, these two kids walk up and they see the listing for the warehouse that we just rented. And they came to look at it. And we're like, oh, hey, sorry, we already got it. Wish you the best of luck. Hey, by the way, what do you do? And they're like, oh, well, we have a carpentry business. I was like, oh shit, no way. And, started talking, just shooting the shit. Cool guys, like, my age. And I asked, well, do you guys do like barn doors or no, sorry. They said that they do barn doors. And like immediately I was like, oh man, that would be the perfect divider for the installation area and then the front area. And then we could also bring a car into like the studio part. So, they created these awesome barn doors. They came and installed it and it's been, like one of the like main like centerpieces of the entire shop. And, from there, we came up with the wall mural to the right. We have, those Ferrari hoods that we got from one of the shops that we do wraps for. These guys with these Ferrari challenges, they spend so much money on these cars that, they wrecked a hood. All right, let's get a new one. Let's rewrap it. And then, put the hood aside. Jesus. So the shop actually, with the Spider-Man one, especially, they called me. They're like, hey, we have this hood. We need a new one, but do you want the old one? I was like, hell yeah, I want the old one. That's awesome. Wow. What kind of question is that? So, we put the hoods up, as display pieces, and it's still an ongoing project. Like I'm the kind of guy that's never satisfied. One of the walls that we did, I actually drew out a couple of car outlines, on one of like the featured walls where I put a 48-inch screen. And then behind it, you have this vinyl print with just, mainly white with car outlines. I don't think I've posted this yet. I know I put it on my story, but I'll post it soon. Where you can actually take white dry erase markers and draw onto the cars, so you can kind of come up with your own, design for these cars on the wall, which I thought was really cool. And then, it's just, I have like 5 other things that I want to do in the shop, but, eventually it'll happen.
Yeah.
But it's a cool shop. I'm glad I made, the switch from working from home into the shop. It's starting to become like a cool little hangout spot. And it's, we get a lot of, we don't get a lot of people walking into the shop, because we don't have like a sign or anything, but I do want to kind of open it up for, more artists to come in and, display their artwork, open up on a Saturday night, have like a bunch of really nice, custom cars out front with car wraps, open up the doors. The guy next to me, Avi, he was actually on a show called Skins Wars. He was runner up in a body painting reality TV show. He's an incredible airbrush artist, and he wants to open up his shop too. So we're kind of building like a cool little art strip where we're located, because. In the place that I'm located, it's Oakland Park, which is kind of like Fort Lauderdale, but Oakland Park, we're in the Art Park District. Okay. So when we opened up shop, they were actually very adamant about the fact that we weren't doing any kind of maintenance or repairs. So we almost didn't get this location because we started saying, "Oh, we're doing vinyl wraps on cars." we had to tell them we are doing car art in order for them to be like, okay, you guys can open up shop here.
Right. Which isn't a bad thing. Work to your benefit.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all, actually, but it pretty much, we're taking a car and we're adding a little flair to it, adding some art,
That's awesome. Going back on the art part of it, and when you started using Photoshop, did you use Photoshop back in high school? Is that how you got into using the program?
Yeah, I didn't really do much in high school. It was more in college. I'm good with my hands. I'm good with, shading and highlights. So I picked up on Photoshop, pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it was because of some of the classes that I was in and enrolled in. That's when I really started using Photoshop and, just coming up with, art, and then now, specifically doing it for car wraps. I'm more of a Photoshop guy than I am Illustrator. I'll use Illustrator, but I just think you can create more depth, in Photoshop, and you can, just kind of, blend things well and create really cool textures.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a designer myself, it's just it's always nice to incorporate, your vector art and converting it into a wow, totally going blank right now.
You want me to pull up a dictionary? Synonym?
Yeah. I'm about to open up my Photoshop myself here. It's taking it from Illustrator and applying it to Photoshop.
Vector Smart Object?
Smart Object. There we go.
Boom.
Wow, this is why I've been out of the industry for 2.5 years. Fucking guy.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm kind of in the industry. I know the lingo.
Yeah, I know the lingo. You know what I mean. You take that thing and you put it over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did a little transfer, a little copy and paste. But it's always nice to take those elements and then build off of that in Photoshop. Like you said, you get those depth, you get those nice colors, those gradients. So much better in Photoshop. Now, getting into the technical side of things, we talked a little bit on, taking photographs and creating your own templates, which, some of us like, and some of us like to use the softwares or the different programs that are out there, whether it be Rad Wraps or Pro Vehicle Outlines. Mm-hmm.
How do you set up your files if you got a new client coming in with a crazy design or commercial wrap, or do you do two separate file setups for commercial over a graphic design type of concept?
So I really like that realistic look when I mock things up.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys like Profine Arts or dang it. That's going to drive me crazy. But
there's some guys out. Profine Arts or what?
Profine Arts, or there's another one. It's called Vi Madness or VI Madness.
Okay.
Those guys are incredible illustrators. They, some of the stuff that they come up with and the depths that they can create in Illustrator with some of these, vehicle outlines or templates. It's crazy. But for me, I love the photorealism look, and I think it kind of helps, the client visualize, it helps the people that aren't very, they can't visualize things without seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them kind of, see or visualize what they can expect. So when I do renderings on cars with the photo, I like to try to make it look like it was the picture with the design on it. There wasn't any enhancements or, anything like that. But if I am to get a custom design, for example, the Rap Sesh and Jess and Final Vixen, they had that red Galaxy Lamborghini
Yes.
with the astronaut hood.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a client that really wanted to see exactly how the car was going to look when it's done. Because you can say, oh, it's going to be a satin red chrome with a cool Galaxy print accent and an astronaut hood. Well, his interpretation of that could be somewhat totally different. So you really try to create a rendering that is almost identical to the final product. Right. And so that's when I'll spend a little bit more time on the renders. I'll go on Google and get some high res images, or, I have a couple of, stock websites that I use, to get high res images, in order to create these, realistic renderings. I'll switch the rims out. I'll, add the different body kits or spoilers or, whatever other accents that, the customers want, and just kind of create them a cool little visual, for them to approve. And then we can start proceeding to the production side of it, because, approval is also, something that you really need as a designer, like a written approval, because I've had verbal approvals before, and, there's just people out there that are like, well, this didn't turn out exactly the way that I thought it was going to be. And I was like, well, this is how I rendered it. Like, what are you talking about? And then, of course, you just have no backing, So I always try to get, approvals signed off. Hey, this is pretty much how it's going to look when it's done. Do you accept? So, but I jump back and forth. I have Photoshop and Illustrator open at all times, because obviously Illustrator has the really crisp lines, where Photoshop, you kind of have to bump up the DPIs in order to get that quality that you want. But then that also increases the rendering time. And if your computer's acting up, or if you just don't have a powerful enough computer, you can sit there for 15 minutes just to move a logo from, the door to the rear quarter panel.
What are you doing a lot of your renderings at, as far as DPI?
My renderings, I'll keep at around like 72, my renderings, I'll go at a smaller size, but I'll keep them at like 300, because that way, it's just a good quality thing, a good quality image, and you don't have to go that big with it. But for print and, for these, higher end custom designs, I'll stay, I'll stay between 80. I'll either do 80 if it's a huge vehicle, or 100 DPI if it's a like a normal vehicle. Because we do buses sometimes, and if you're trying to do a bus in Photoshop, or a 40-foot underwater scene, for a yellowfin, that file itself, I think that file for that yellowfin is at like 10 gigs.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Holy shit. How many layers do you have in that thing?
I will give you an exact number.
It's so bad. It's so bad that you know exactly how many layers you have.
Yeah, I'll give you an exact number, but I'm pretty sure there's about like 200 layers in that one side.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's
it's detailed when you got that many layers.
Yeah, it's it's just obnoxious how many layers there are, because I literally have the entire like coral reef system broken down into an entire folder of layers.
Jeez.
And just trying to pinpoint those layers and like exactly which coral is what is a headache, because you could right click that image that you're trying to do in Photoshop, but then you have a lot of adjustment layers over that, and then layer, like shadow layers and other layers on top of that. So
you'll never find it.
Yeah, you're literally clicking the eye, that little eye that you have on the layer panel to take layers away. You're literally going down the entire list. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No.
You spent half the day trying to find that layer to move it an inch or two.
Moral of the story, if you want to become a designer, kids, and the vehicle wrap industry, you have to have a lot of patience.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when the client has changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. honestly, the wrap that I'm talking about, this yellowfin, I probably have about 60 hours into the design.
Wow.
But it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait. They cannot build this yellowfin fast enough.
Right? Yeah, you're already ahead of the game. You're ready. I mean, are you already at the printing stages or ready to print stage at this point?
The design's been approved.
Wow.
The design's been approved. Knowing me, I'll probably go back in there and make a few more adjustments, just because really, something like that big, 42 feet, that's a big boat. That's a big surface. That's a huge canvas. So you're literally designing this 1 inch at a time, because, you can bring in a photo, or you can bring in, an image or something. And if it's not blended correctly, or you have a hard line, or, there's just so many things that you aren't able to see on a 27-inch monitor,
right?
Unless you zoom in at 150% and just scan every single inch of it to make sure that when it blows up, it's going to look perfect. So
right.
it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of trial and error. But there's not. I can't think of a greater feeling than being able to sit back and know how long you spent on this design and see it in full scale on such, like a beautiful canvas. I would say it's not just like a flat surface. It's a boat with, center consoles are just incredible to look at anyways, especially yellowfins. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but, 2019 42-foot yellowfin is, that's over $1 million boat.
Jesus.
And to be able to have your artwork sitting on, on the hull of that boat it's just a cool feeling, and that's something that I would never get in any other design, industry.
I agree,
other than vehicle wraps.
I was going to ask you, how do you get a lot of your concepts? I mean, a lot of us have, Shutterstock or iStock and stuff like that we use for certain elements. You kind of just go that route too, and then just build off of that? Or do you like to create your own stuff?
So there's a very big range of designs that I do. If it's one of these, cause every, shops reach out to me all the time and say, hey, I have this customer. They just want this simple, basic design. Can you help me out? And, I would love to. So in a sense like that, I'll take, I'll go on, Shutterstock and grab a couple elements, maybe blend them together a little bit, come up with a logo, make it really nice. I don't like to, lean on Shutterstock. I actually prefer to, create as much custom work as possible.
Yeah.
But if I don't have the time, or if it's like a project that just needs to quickly get out, I'll use Shutterstock, or I'll scan through the gallery just to kind of get some ideas.
Yes.
To, like color palettes, especially, as a starting point, or, just different, abstract, styles, or, whatever, just kind of pulling out creativity or inspiration however you can.
Right.
But yeah, I'll use Shutterstock here and there just as an aid to help me design the job, get the job done, and push it through in a timely manner. But for my customs, like that Spider-Man Ferrari, that's all custom made. Like the spider web part, that's literally me going into Illustrator, starting with the black lines and just kind of warping them to make them look like the spider web, and then rounding out all the corners where the intersections are, bringing that into Photoshop using Alien Skinware, or I don't know if you're familiar with that.
That's going back old school, Alien.
Oh yeah, man! I used to get from the bad raps. They used to send me the hard drives for their templates.
Holy shit, man! Doesn't Alien have the you can make the words look chrome and shit like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember they had them on. I think they might have had them on a disc or something.
Yeah,
And man, that would slow down my computer like crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you know what, man? That software I use till this day. I've used it, I think I remember I don't remember when I started using it, but when you bevel and emboss in Photoshop and then you flatten that bevel and emboss goes away.
Right.
Like it's non-existent, but it never comes out the way that you want it to. But when with Alien Skinware, they have a great bevel software. They have you can do the chrome, you can do the glass. The glass is, I use that from time to time. It's just a really, really great software that you could. It just takes your imagination. Like I knew that I had to get that spider web texture to look, 3-dimensional in order to achieve, the realistic look that I was going for.
Right.
And then I also do a lot of photography. So I literally take pictures of everything. My girlfriend is probably so annoyed with me because I'll stop and there'll be like a rusted piece of metal that's, sitting up against the garbage can. I'll be like, oh my God, that's a perfect texture. And I'll run over there and take a quick, picture of it.
That's
and
awesome.
I'll use that. Like I went to the Air Museum up in Seattle. Like that's where my dad's from. And we went to the Air and Space Museum, and I probably took pictures of every single rivet, every single, gun or like service compartment, just because that's the stuff that's really cool on these cars. Like the rust, the rivets, the aged compartments, the military green, weathered look. And you can literally take that picture and you can bring it into Photoshop, either, use some kind of a filter to blend it into, the color or the surface that you're using, or turn it into a brush. And then now you can kind of stamp it and blend it into your design. And that's why I love Photoshop so much, because there's no limit to what you can do. And, that the cloth texture underneath the Spider-Man webbing that I use, that's just a picture of like a performance fleece, or I forgot where I got that picture from, and it's just, brought into Photoshop and enhanced, and a couple filters put on it to create, that little bubbly performance latex, texture.
That's insane. And how many layers did you have in that thing? You must have had a ton of layers.
So with that one, once I got the fabric and then the spider webbing done, the layers that I had on top of that was that same layer duplicated, and then turned into black and white. So I got rid of the red, dropped down the level so it's a little bit darker, and then I came in with some paint splashes.
Okay. Yep.
Desaturated those, made those black, and then I would mask the black Spider-Man texture. I would lay out my paint splatters how I wanted them to look, and then I'd come in and just blend in that black Spider-Man texture.
Wow.
And just moved it around the entire car, and and just literally just layer by layer, trial and error. I probably started off with that design. I probably redid that entire Spider-Man look like 5 times before I was happy with the overall appearance.
That's insane.
It's a process. I mean, it's definitely a process. It's definitely a little mixture of OCD and perfectionism, and just not settling for the first thing that you design. I think, a lot of the times I'll design something and completely erase it and start all over again. And just, why not? When you're looking at a design that you first start and you look at it, you can kind of be like, oh, I kind of like it. I see certain things that are good, but then you completely erase that and start all over again. You subconsciously bring in those aspects that you really liked, and you add to that, and then you start from the part that you did like, and then you build from that. So now you're building, a good piece of artwork, and you're just adding even better pieces.
Yeah, I agree, man. Starting over sometimes isn't that bad.
Yeah.
It kind of regenerates or kind of reboots your design, and you look at things in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely happens. I've done it quite a few times, and I've stuck with the second round drafts more than my first round drafts, even though, I had my mindset on that first one. I spent a ton of time, but you know what? You almost spend less time on your second time doing it, and you're more happy with it than you are with the first one,
Right.
Well, I wanted to talk about a little bit, since we're on the design side, I wanted to talk a little bit about this amazing design that you came up with for Yanamai's overseas, with that Ferrari built. Was that your first time designing something to that magnitude overseas?
So actually that's the second car that Yanamai's is, that I've worked with Yanamai's on last year. So he works with Josh Cartu. Josh Cartu is a part of the Wolf Pack that does the Gumball Rally every year. I've been designing Team Wolfpack's cars for, I think, 6 years.
Wow.
We started off doing the we started off doing the weathered metal plated rivets designed for his Audi R8, and then also like a bright green GTR. And then the next year he wanted to kind of utilize the reflective vinyl, and he really wanted to go with the Tron look. So I think that year I designed an Audi R8, the Nissan GTR, a Ferrari 458, a Ferrari 458 Spider, a Dodge Viper, and the McLaren 650S, I think.
Wow.
All in different colors. Blue, red, green, purple, and the Viper was orange that we did with black reflective. And from then, they kind of just love this reflective look, and that is like what they want to continue to do. So I think that was in like 2013 or 14 is when we did the Tron designs. And then after that, we kept with like the rustic metally style with little reflective accents. And then Josh Cartu ended up coming on board with Team Wolfpack, and he had somebody else doing the designs. But I guess this year, when we did the Tron designs, he had the Rolls Royce.
Oh yeah.
Which was his like relief car. So when he wasn't driving his badass Ferraris and he was tired, he was able to come and relax in his nice Rolls Royce and kick back, and do the rally. Which Yanamai's was the one that installed that one originally. So that was the first time that I worked with Yanamai's, which was an awesome experience because obviously getting into this industry, everybody knows Yanamai's.
Right.
Like that's, yeah. So this year was the first year that we actually worked kind of together. I was asked to do the design. They wanted to go with an Asian theme because it was, going through Tokyo, going through London, and, they want to have the Asian inspired. We were actually going to go with a red, satin red chrome design with gold accents. But Josh is a really big fan of blue, and I kind of fucked myself over because I designed the whole thing in red, and I've actually been meaning to post the two different designs. Designed the whole thing in red with the gold accents. I was like, this is the coolest design ever. And, I showed it to my client and he loved it. And I was like, and then I was just like, well, let's see what it looks like in blue. So I changed it to blue with the lighter blue accents, and it looked awesome. And I was like, man, I don't even want to show him this because I know if I show him this, he's going to want this. And, lo and behold, showed it. loved it. Let's do this one. And that's when, we went with the blue accents. But that whole dragon was hand drawn. I drew that whole thing. I literally spent 2 whole days sitting there drawing scale after scale on my little tablet on Photoshop, because it was when I got asked to do it, we were kind of rushed for time because I needed to get the prints to Yanamize. Yanamize needed to order the material. We were doing this with the chrome that needed to be printed on and then laminated with satin, and then doing the reflective print, which right there, that sounds like chaos, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. I watched the video of it. My God.
Yeah. But then as a designer, I'm sending these files to these guys that are overseas. I can't just give them, all right, here's the design, have fun.
Right.
You have to panel it out for their printer. So you panel it out in 54-inch panels. You do a fender panel, body panel, roof, hood, rear, bumpers and whatnot. But then they wanted to do the reflective. They wanted to have the dragon be reflective. So you draw the dragon out. Then you have to bring the dragon from Photoshop into Illustrator, create the cut contour line, set it up so it will fit nicely on, the reflective roll, so they can easily just print it, put the registration marks on, and then plot it. I honestly, if I were to have probably like 2 more days, I would have been 100% satisfied with that design, but it was a rush design. Like I look in the pictures and I'm like nitpicking everything that I did, but it was a cool design. I was very happy with the overall look of it.
I was going to say, were you familiar with the vehicle? Because you had mentioned it's like a brand new Ferrari. It's I'm sure it wasn't templated. I mean, what was that process like for you?
Nice.
So you don't even have to answer it. You already got my answer.
So I was able to get a template. I was able to get the dimensions of that car. Yeah. What I really wanted to do is when I mocked these up, I like going back to what I said is I love the photorealistic look. Just because I think it gives more of a realistic visual for the client. Right. And I was having such an issue with, finding a top view, for this Ferrari. Cause I looked on Google, I went to like page 6 and 7 and actually probably all the way up to 12, which I consider the ghetto of Google. and like trying to find this top view of the car, and I couldn't. And I was like, I went on Forza, and I tried to find the car in Forza, but they weren't coming out until the new Forza came out, and you had to buy the special package in order to get the car. Jeez. So I asked my client if he had that, because he has the Forza games, which is also another awesome thing about this industry is I have designs that I've designed that I can play in Forza of, like the Audi R8, that's a Tron car, or the 488 GTB Ferrari that I designed, that Paulie Geist, who is a Forza artist that recreates these designs, enabled me to be able to buy the Forza game, download the skin for the vehicles that we've wrapped, and also have the Hot Wheels package. So if I were to tell my younger self, like my 10-year-old self, hey, in your later years, you're going to be able to design a car that's in a video game and you're allowed to race it around a Hot Wheels track, like my mind would have been blown.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it's so cool, man. That's probably like the most rewarding part about being a designer, and like, seeing your creations on the actual car, but then also on cars that you're literally playing in a video game. I went off topic, man. My ADD.
Nah, it's all good, man. This is what it's all about. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the you couldn't get the photograph of the top of the vehicle.
Right. So I got the outlines. We were able to approve the design, and get it sent over. And I think Yanamize, they're doing a TV show. I don't know if it aired or not yet, but they have a TV show the whole process of that entire design.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. I saw videos on, I think it might have been like YouTube or something like that with this two installers installing it. And, man, it looked great. I mean, I just love how like the arm of the dragon came around the back. You got one kind of creeping out of the vent type in the front. Like, it's just those little details that like someone that's looking might say, oh, that's cool. But as a designer myself, I know what it took for you to get there, and it wasn't easy. You know what I mean?
Nah.
Like, even though it took you so long and you were in a tight schedule, you needed to get it out, I can appreciate what you did. I didn't see any flaws for me. I mean, I know no matter what, we're always going to critique it, and that's what art is. To everybody else, it's never a finished product at the end of the day. You know what I mean? There's always something you can add and build to it. So it's never, ever a finished product, but, you know, you can appreciate what's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man. I appreciate that.
That's what it's all about. And you know, I know what it took to get there, man, to have to incorporate all those little elements and the hand draw, just, you know, just to create and hand draw just another dragon, you know what I mean? Out of your own imagination, and to have that on a vehicle, you know, props to you, bro. It's just,
I appreciate that.
When you can do stuff like that, you never work a day in your life. And I'm sure that's how you feel every day when you wake up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love taking somebody else's idea and them just giving me like a little snippet of what they want, or just anything. And being able to take that and just creating something, similar to that super fast design, for the gumball. And it's an extremely rewarding feeling. And hearing, the feedback and reading some of these comments, you're obviously going to get the people that are like, oh my God, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. But then you also get the people that are like, oh, that's the coolest thing ever. And, to be able to read that and, kind of hear these people's responses to your artwork is, something that you just can't even describe. And every day I always try to push myself. I always try to come up with something that I haven't come up with before. I refuse to be something like, I love what you said about the fact that it's like, oh, yo, that's a Glarb design for sure. Because I do not like to be something that's like, I do the same thing over and over and over. Yes, there's a certain style that I have, but it's all different. It's always going to be completely different. And I love pushing myself, challenging myself, doing something that I'm uncomfortable with. Cause I get bored very easily, and I don't like to be bored. I like to create it. I love to, introduce something that it hasn't been in before. And that's why I'm in design. And that's why I'll be in design, because there's no boundaries. There's no guidelines to what we do. It's literally putting things together, like camo, for instance. That's the most chaotic, if you think about it, it's the most chaotic thing ever. But you can't just slap camo together and it'd be like, all right, I'm done. No, there has to be movement. There has to be direction. There has to be, symmetry. There has to be balance to camo in order to make camo, successful. Right. Other than that, it just looks like vomit.
It's just diarrhea all over the car.
Yeah. They're like, oh, let's do brown and then red and then, burgundy and Granny Smith apple camo. Yeah. No, it's, it's a balance between the color palette. It's a balance between where those colors fit. It's a balance, every single car is different. Like I could take I could come up with a camo for a Jeep Wrangler. It doesn't necessarily mean that I can easily take that camo on the Jeep Wrangler and put it onto a Hyundai Genesis. Right. And it's going to look the same. No, you have to kind of use the vehicle as your canvas and, manipulate or like change it up a little bit, because, and I mean, I guess that's subjective and that's art in, definition, but to me, that's what is awesome about vehicle wraps, because it's not just, a 4x8 canvas. It's a actual, 3-dimensional surface, and you're literally using, I don't know, the individual personality of the car in order to create your art. And it's always going to be different. And, every project's going to be different. Every design's going to be different. And it's challenging. It's never mundane. It's always, it's something that I look forward to every single day.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, I love that. I love it. Yeah, no matter what, every car is going to be different. Every body line is going to be different. The way the shadows of the car, you can play off those things if you really look deep. When you're drinking something, listen to me. I hear you drink something.
Wait, are you drinking too? Are you drinking too?
I hear you drink something. I said drink for some reason. The way you look at something and you really look deep into it, and you look at the way the certain lines hit and where it creates shadows, you can play off that and add, your textures and your little extra bits in those areas where it highlights that more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to beat I don't have to beat a dead horse, but it's just, you can get as intricate as you want, or you can go as plain as you want. At the end of the day, it's art. And that's that. You know what I mean? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And like I said before, each and every project, you're not going to be 100% hands down like, that was my best piece, because you're always going to critique it. You're always going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have moved that a little bit over. I wish I would have done a little bit more of a drop shadow, or a little bit extra hue here, or whatever the case may have been.
Look at you with your design
see?
terms, Jeff.
And then I forget, I forget all about, converting something to outlines for some reason, and shapes and shit. It's just, it's all coming back to me. I get talking a little bit. You get talking and we get talking and talking. It all comes back to me. It's just like riding a bike,
It's the muscle memory, man. It's the muscle memory for
sure.
Oh,
man.
Absolutely.
But we've been talking for a while, and, I know you've got things to do, dude, and I really appreciate your time. I want to end kind of on this note. Is there anybody, it doesn't have to be in the industry, but is there anybody that you look up to, or is an influencer for you that you kind of either listen to or read a book about, or anything to that nature to kind of help you out throughout the day or whatever?
Oh man,
I'm going deep, man. You
yeah.
know?
Damn.
Just gotta end on a kind of like a little serious note, once in a while. Reel it back in,
Yeah, man. You know what? If I feel like I can answer this question easily, normally, but right now, I don't know. Like there's a lot of inspiration. I get inspired all the time, with just like everyday life, like, trying to wake up and stay positive, regardless of anything that's like thrown in your way, is probably one of the most difficult things. And I don't want to sound like cliche or anything, but like man, you caught me off guard.
I'm
Jeff.
sorry. At least I stopped you once. Damn.
Yeah. It was so fluid, man. Like it was so fluid up until this point.
I just try to get it into a real spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The one person that really does motivate me, and you're touching a chord right now.
Hey, I've already bought you dinner and bought you a drink at this point. It's time to go home. You know what I mean?
That's true. It's true. It's time to go home. So, so the person that I definitely look up to, it has to be my dad. Absolutely. Like 110%. He's the reason why I am, building my own business, building my own brand, waking up every single morning and just like pushing the pavements, because he literally a rose that grew from concrete. He had every reason in his life the way that he grew up was like, he could have failed. He could have just given up and just, oh, this was the hand that I was dealt, but he didn't. He literally, worked his ass off, left his family and made a life for himself, and is never, like, will not let anybody tear him down. Like, he is just such an inspirational person, does anything and everything for anybody, and is always going to be like, God damn it, Jeff.
No, dude, this is all good, man. Let it out, bro. I love hearing these stories, bro. It's, it's family,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And you know what, like, growing up and not understanding life, as a kid, he was gone. He was traveling, a lot through my life. And, I always had like I didn't understand it. There was a slight, resentment, like, why isn't he here? Why isn't he, with me? But it's because he was just trying to make a living for his family. He was trying to do whatever he had to do in order to make sure that his kids and his wife were taken care of. And, for somebody to do that and never, ever, 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 ever ask for anything in return is just, it blows my mind. And it's so incredible. And if you were to ever talk to my dad, he's just a down to earth guy and just loves his family and just so cool to talk to. And it's just something that you just don't find ever. And like, it's hard to find. It's so hard to find. And, he's just always positive, just loves life, just wants to have a good time. And he would definitely be my role model.
That's awesome. And he's still with us today?
He's still with us today. Yep. So his name's Greg. My mom's name's Lisa. I have a sister named Ashley and Bree. So you can put the puzzle together.
Put the puzzle together? Wait a minute. You went too fast for me.
Oh, well, I'll leave you at that, Jeff. This is where we say goodnight. Thank you for all the listeners tuning in. Make sure you buy your...
You kissed me at the door and told me to go hit pavement, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Jesus.
I appreciate the drink and I appreciate the dinner. This has been a great conversation. To the rap industry, thank you for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the All Wrapped Up podcast. Hey, Jeff.
Ryan, you're gonna do my outro now, man?
I mean, listen, you bought me dinner and a drink already. You totally, you only said half my last name.
You won't let me down on that one, will you?
No, I'm cool. But I do want that drink. Are you going to SEMA?
I'm trying. I'm definitely trying to get down there. I've got some loose ends to tie up here. Which is really cool. Hopefully I'm able to share, if everything happens the way it's supposed to, but,
cool, man.
I'm kind of hinging on that happening prior to going to SEMA, but we'll see. I might make an appearance.
Yeah,
maybe.
Man. Well, if you do, let me know. I'd love to meet you in person. I'm only going to be there for the first 2 days and then I got to book it. My sister's getting married too. So, I gotta go do the brotherly thing and go to the wedding.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But yeah, man, if you're going to SEMA, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, definitely. It goes quick. But, talking about the industry, things we're passionate about, time flies, man. Time flies.
There's a reason why you have a podcast, sir. There is a reason.
I appreciate that, man. Well, Ryan, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media and website if they want to get in contact with you to get some designs done.
So my Instagram and Facebook is Glarb Rap. I am in the process of building my website. It's been quite the struggle because I hate designing for myself. But it will be put up here soon, or you can just DM me on Instagram. That's the best way to do it. I appreciate the time, Jeff. You're a good man and a great talker. I really enjoyed this entire conversation.
Oh, likewise, brother. Likewise. This has been great. Thank you so much for sharing and letting us in a little bit about about what you do and how you do it, and talking about some stories and some great things that you're doing in the industry, brother. I appreciate you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, you take care. And, I look forward to being best friends with you.
Definitely. Yeah, we're definitely going to be friends now after this.
Yeah. We can't be, man. We can't. You asked too many personal questions. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I asked one. Come on. Come on.
No, you're good, man.
That
You're
was
good.
good.
You're good. You're good.
I saved my best question for last. It was good, dude. I appreciate you opening up too. You know what I mean? It's hard for people to open up and be vulnerable, with certain situations and shedding light into things that maybe, you know, you might have forgot about or, you know, some stories that might arise, and, you know, it brings you back to those memories. And, you know, a lot of the times our guests, you know, reminisce and really reflect back on, you know, the types of things they had to go through. You know, a lot of us had to walk through shit to get to where we are now. And it's nice to think that, you know what, I walked and I did all those things to get to where I am now, and I'm so appreciative for that. And
that's the most rewarding part about, you know, what we do. You know, you went through some stuff too.
Yeah. And
I guess I guarantee when you first started this industry, you never thought that you were just going to start a podcast and talk about it. And, you know, it's where, you know, it's following what you're passionate about and just letting it take control, and honestly, just giving up the reins and, you know, following your heart at the end of the day. There's going to be turmoil. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be all of the above. You just have to keep a positive attitude. You just have to keep struggling. If it is truly what you want to do, then do it at 110%. If you have questions about it, if you have doubts about it, then, you know, pull back and rethink. Maybe there's something else. But if it is something that just pulls you every day, it just keeps pulling you in, you're not doing the wrong thing.
Right. Agreed.
And neither one of us are doing the wrong thing, man. And you know, this path is brought together. I'm glad our paths have crossed, and I look forward to meeting you in person and shaking your hand.
Likewise, brother.
You have yourself a good night. It was a pleasure talking with you. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Definitely. Peace and blessings, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
What's up, everybody? Hope you enjoyed this episode of the All Wrapped Up podcast. Hit that rank button and review. And to stay up to date with future podcasts, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, folks, that's a wrap.